dental product company that we produce about 500 different materials, devices, and instrumentation. We have about 1,100 employees in the United States. Started in a garage. You'd be embarrassed how we had to start. Because there wasn't that much regulation, we could pull it off. I don't care if you talk to Steve Jobs or anybody, they say the same thing. So, anyway, that kind of gives you a little bit of a background on that. We export to over 100 countries, and we're based out of basically Salt Lake City, south of there, South Jordan. And because we say we're about 100 countries, you have to understand that the ones that get invaded or get sanctions, we don't get to sell to. We're one of the few dental companies that went through the certification association process in Russia. So we're fully certified to be there, but because of the politics of that, it really affects our company. We produce, you can look us up on the web. We produce 90% of our products are produced in the United States.
Can you ask your question?
Yeah, okay. But anyway, the next thing I want to do, I have a book here, so I'm going to go a little opposite. It's called The Great Equalizer from David Smith. Okay. People like Bill Bradley, Larry Summers, and give a high thumbs up on this thing. And I'd like you to read that, because if the economy doesn't go, it doesn't make any difference.
That's true.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next thing, I'm sorry.
No, I have a quick question.
Okay, here's a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 21 things that I've observed from other countries that drag down.
Guys, we've been
drag down healthcare. Here's a list of the habit 21. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Margaret Dibble. I'm from Moscow. I served on the Moscow School Board for 12 and a half years or so. And so I'm very interested in education. And so I've got a question about, as our new Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, staunchly supports a national voucher program that would allow parents to use federal tax dollars for private K-12 schools, including religious schools. And I'm very concerned about that. One, vouchers drain funding away from public schools, which disadvantage families who can't afford to pay the extra tuition on top of the vouchers, so it doesn't do them any good. Secondly, there have been a number of studies, Louisiana, Idaho, and Indiana, and have found that voucher programs hurt rather than help students. They're not doing better for getting vouchers. Third, rural communities.
How do you have a study in Idaho when we don't have vouchers in Idaho?
Well, but yeah, I'm getting
okay.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I want a short answer, but it's a long question.
That's fine. Not too long.
No.
But yeah.
Third, rural communities don't benefit and may be harmed because they rely on funding to improve the schools that they have. There are not a whole lot of schools in some of these districts. So it's important to Idaho because 40% of Idaho schools are rural. And finally, tax dollars going to religious schools violates constitutional separation of state. So the question is, there's a bill coming up, House Resolution 610, the Choices in Education Act, which would use our federal tax dollars for vouchers. So how do you intend to vote on that?
Great
yes
question.
or no?
I don't know, because I haven't seen it. I'm not sure that I like the idea of national vouchers, but not for the same reason that you do, and I haven't really studied the bill because first time I hear of it. I like vouchers in general. I just don't like nationalizing our educational policy. So I think the state should decide whether they're going to have vouchers or not. So I need to look at this bill. Without having read it, I can't tell you what So you and I disagree on the concept of vouchers, but I'm not sure that I love the idea of having a national voucher program, because I think education should be at the local level, not at the national level. And I'll tell you why I like the concept of vouchers. I grew up in a single-parent home. My mother worked pretty hard to put me in private school. I lived in Puerto Rico from birth till the age of 13. I went to 3 different private schools in Puerto Rico. My mom worked pretty hard. It was really hard for her to make ends meet, but she still put me in a private school. I think private education is good when there's competition. I think it improves all educational levels. I think those things are good. I think I was a better student because of the education that I received, and I think it was good that my mother put me in there. And not every family can afford it. My mother couldn't afford it. What she did is she went without some things. But education is getting so expensive, and there's less competition. But I do think we have a responsibility as a state to make our local public schools as good as possible. Like I said earlier, I have 5 kids who have all gone. 3 graduated from Eagle High School. I have 1 who's going to graduate next year from Eagle High School, and then 1 who's entering high school. I love the public schools. I love public school teachers, and I want to make them stronger. And I want to look for a way. And I do think competition, like vouchers, would be a good thing. In Idaho, we could not do religious voucher, because even though I don't think it's a national separation of state issue, in Idaho, our state constitution says specifically that you cannot use state money for religious education.
I think our national constitution.
No, it doesn't. There's no separation of church and state in the Constitution.
Sorry?
There's no separation of church and state in the U.S. Look at the Constitution. Find it.
Yeah.
Find separation of church and state.
May not support an established religion. First.
May not. No, it just said that it may not establish a religion. You should read it.
So the next question, 759, number 759, 473, number 473, and number 784. 784.
How are you?
Good morning, Congressman. Thanks for coming. It's good to see you again, Rob.
It's good to see you.
I'm not going to talk about healthcare.
I'm surprised.
I will just tell you that based on my 40 years experience in healthcare delivery and healthcare financing, that the bill you approved yesterday is detrimental to the citizens of Idaho and citizens of the United States. I mean, I do have a fair amount of experience.
You do.
My question, however, is about the role and independence of the legislative branch. I have been concerned about, particularly the House, in their oversight responsibilities, using it in previous administration as a witch hunt, and then refusing to look at conflicts of interest and perhaps espionage activities into the U.S. government.
Guys, let's be respectful to each other, please.
Well, how can we improve the quality of the oversight of Congress and the executive without turning it into witch hunts?
Great question. There's actually 4 legislative committees looking at the interaction of the Trump campaign with Russia. Just yesterday, a Democrat in the Senate, so this was not a Republican, a Democrat in the Senate said that there's absolutely no evidence that she has found that there was collusion between the Trump administration and Russia. There was no question that there was interference, but Russia has interfered with our elections for years. This is not the first time that Russia tried to interfere with the elections. They interfere with it every 4 years with our national elections and every 2 years with our local elections. They do it all the time. The problem is that this time, the person who some people thought was going to win lost. And that's why people are so upset about it. So there are two independent investigations in each house. There is an investigation by the FBI director, and we are doing everything that is necessary to look at it. If you look at what Congress has done in the past, is when there's evidence of wrongdoing, not accusations of wrongdoing, but evidence of wrongdoing, that's usually when Congress gets into the oversight committee. But even the oversight chairman has said that he's going to be investigating some of the conflicts of interest as well. So I think there's some pretty robust investigation. The Senate is working really hard. The House is working really hard to find out. And everyone who has looked at the evidence, from the FBI to Republican senators, Democratic senators, House Republicans and Senate and House Democrats, they have not found any evidence of collusion. The evidence so far is non-existent, and I agree with you. If there was evidence of collusion, I think we should ramp it up and there should be prosecutions if there was evidence of collusion. But there's no evidence of collusion.
Congressman, I think besides the Russia hacking election, that the potential for significant financial malfeasance, conflicts of interest require a strong oversight capacity by the Congress.
I agree with you.
Thank you, Rob.
Great to be here.
I didn't come prepared. I didn't know I'd get a chance to speak. So I'm concerned with the Bureau of Reclamation. They have not, they don't have a new director yet, or a Solicitor General. And apparently, looking at the research I've done, that is all over the country, thousands and thousands of jobs. Are we looking at getting those places replaced?
That's a great question.
Or are we going to leave them there through?
No, we're not, and I don't have anything to do with that. That's a great question. I don't have anything to do with those jobs. This administration started a little bit slow with their appointments. Some of it, frankly, was because the Democrats slowed down their appointments in the Senate, but some of it was self-inflicted as well. And I think in some of these jobs, I am concerned that they haven't gone filled for a while. Because you do need a solicitor. You need somebody directing the agency, making sure that those things are happening. I hope that now that the first 100 days are over, that they will expedite some of these appointments, because I think it's not good that we have so many agencies.
We had dealt with, before you became a representative, we dealt with our congressmen and senators the problem we've been dealing with for years with Bureau of Reclamation. And Congress had passed a law dealing with the subject that we're interested in. And the Bureau refuses to comply with that law. So we had...
Have you talked to our office about that?
No, I have not. No, this was the last big push we did was before you were elected.
And you're still having this problem?
Yes, oh yes, yes.
Yeah, if you don't mind, again, one of my staffers, I would love to have them talk to you.
Yeah, so if we can, but I want to make one statement in connection with that. When we were dealing with our delegation on it, they said, well, is staff of the Bureau in favor of what you're going to do, or what we want to do? And we said, no. They said, we can't get it passed in Congress if staff isn't in favor of it. I just want to know who's running this country.
That's a great question. That actually leads, both of your questions, Dr. Rushi, and your questions, both of your questions actually relate to a frustration I have in Washington, which when I served with Dr. Where did he go? Is he still here? Oh, there you are. When I served with Dr. Rushi in the legislature, I was really proud of being a legislator. Because our Idaho legislature, whether you agree with the results or not, I think functions really well. I think we have good oversight of the executive. I think we put some stops on what the executive is doing. And we're truly a separate branch of government. I think, unfortunately, in Washington, D.C., we have given the agencies too much power. And we give the agencies, mostly because members of Congress are a little bit lazy. It's hard to pass good legislation. So what you do is you pass a bill that says the agency will do X, and the agency will decide how to do X. We would never do that in the Idaho legislature. We would outline what the agencies would do and give them some broad power, but not this specific power. What we're doing is we're usurping the power of the legislature and giving it to the president and to the executive. And I think that's wrong to give it to Democratic presidents and to Republican presidents. I think we should take back our Article 1 authority and make sure that we're more specific in what our legislation does. I think many of the problems that we have in the United States is because of that. I thought it was much better when we worked at the Idaho legislature that we had a little bit more control, actually a lot more control of what the executive was doing. And we could rein in the executive quite a bit. And that's one of the reasons you have so many oversight hearings